Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevett, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobelli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation bus. That's right.
Hi, I'm Jason, and welcome back to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. We are really excited today. We got a great guest. Now, Scott's going to be a few minutes late because he's having some technical difficulties. You know, those Florida storms have still got him under the weather with his reception. Anyway, great guest today. We got Albert Nerenberg. Albert, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Really good. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here.
Oh, it's all our pleasure, Albert, and we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a great show. And let's just start off right now, hot and heavy. Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, well, I should say, my name is Albert Nerenberg, and I have kind of two jobs. I'm a filmmaker, a former reporter, journalist, and I'm a hypnotist, hypnotherapist. And I often describe myself as a reluctant hypnotist, in that I wasn't somebody who thought, I'm going to become. I think actually there's not that many of us who actually think, I'm going to become a hypnotist. It kind of happens to you. I got traumatized working on a documentary, and then I knew I was kind of messed up. And the thing that fixed me quite by accident was hypnosis. And that's how I got into it. I didn't plan on it. So that's why I say I'm a reluctant hypnotist.
So you were a filmmaker first. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of those films. As you know, we're focused on alternative methods of healing.
Yeah.
So talk about that. What kind of power does film have in helping people's perceptions?
I should explain. I developed something called movie therapy, simply because I had a lot of clients who, I'm sure you've had this experience where somebody comes to you and they're kind of describing how they're leading a kind of bad life. Their life is not going well. And in describing it, there's a few common qualities: that there's a lack of vibrancy, color, excitement to their lives. There's a dreariness. And it seems like they're not even the main character in their own movie. And that struck me, that people that are not living well, according to themselves, are living a kind of bad movie. And I've done a lot of work as a script doctor, where some people have come to me with their movies and I've helped them fix their movie, and then the movie flies. So I thought, hey, what if I sort of script doctored your life? Because script doctoring is a real science. And I actually discovered that it can really help people improve their internal movie. And you might say, and some might say, wait a second, movies and hypnotherapy, those are different things. But actually, not so much. We know that the unconscious mind is more cinematic. It thinks in pictures, videos, movies in some ways, and the conscious mind is more linguistic. So I think conscious mind is more like a book, unconscious mind is more like a movie. So that's why movie therapy made so much sense to me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So you even have this method. Would you call it a modality?
Yeah, it's a way of approaching. It's a way, first of all, I say to people, does it feel like I ask them a series of questions. Do you feel like the main character in your life? And I'll give you an example. At first, people are like, what do you mean? And I'd say, well, a lot of people spend a lot of time feeling envious or jealous of other. They think other people are living so well and they are not. If you do that, you are by definition not the main character in your life. You're making the person that you're jealous of the main character in your life. And this happens to all of us because the media is sort of feeding us these images of other people living so well that we can't help feeling like, other people are living great lives, me not so much. Either way, you got to find a way to make yourself the star of in a sense, your own movie. And when you do that, you get empowered, you make changes, and you start to live. So it's not a stretch, in my opinion.
I guess it's not just envy. I guess it would also happen with people with trauma who've been
Yes.
victimized and things like this.
You actually, interesting observation. Yes. So people with trauma by definition tend to be living in the past because they're being affected by things that happened to them in the past. So when you resolve trauma or anxiety and worries, you tend to live a more present life. And when you arrive in the present, the movie is better. It's actually a kind of rule of film language to write in the present because it's just more interesting than writing, as if you're in the past. So yeah, you've got it.
So you did this TED Talk. Is hypnosis real?
It,
It's like, come on, you already knew it wasn't fake to start with. So what's that all about?
So, I mean, at the time when I did that, I would say it was newer to hypnosis. And I was struck by, and I think this is an interesting thing. Hypnotists, hypnosis has been around for a long time. European hypnosis, probably 250 years. There are reams of science buttressing, justifying, explaining hypnosis and explaining the phenomena. And it's very rare that you would have a modality like hypnosis that would almost be in the kind of realm of the occult. And in fact, if you go to bookstores and you ask for books on hypnosis, sometimes they'll refer you to the occult section. And so I was really struck by the fact that even among, intelligent, educated people see hypnosis as being either a bit of a party trick or not possible. There must be fake. So when I did this, I've done a few TEDx's. I would take a part of it that the public just doesn't believe. That they don't believe, for example, that people can be turned into chickens. And so I demonstrated that you can turn people into chickens. And although this is sometimes, I used to see it as a kind of cliche of stage hypnosis. Like I used to be the guy who would say, oh, I never turn people into chickens. But actually, when I started doing it, I saw something really, really fascinating and amazing. So sorry, to answer your question, I did the TEDx where I said, is hypnosis fake? And I explained all the kind of skepticism and lack of belief. And then I said to the audience, if hypnosis is fake, then what I'm going to be doing now should not really happen. And I invited a bunch of people on stage. I did a sort of classic, very fast stage hypnosis show, turned a guy into a chicken, made somebody a kung fu master, had people forget their names, the usual kind of classic stage hypnosis stuff. And I proved that hypnosis is real. That's why I think that TEDx kind of blew up. It's now almost 12 million views. So yeah, that was a crazy experience.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you also have this bar experience. So you do the stage stuff.
I'm not, yeah, I should explain. I have no compunction about being, I know some people are like, I'm a hypnotherapist, I never do stage hypnosis. I don't see them as fundamentally different, meaning they maybe the values are different. Hypnotherapy, we're more obviously, in the realm of helping people responsibly, accountably, but stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy are the same animal. And I also believe that stage hypnosis is an extremely challenging craft. You can't not know what you're doing and do stage hypnosis. You wouldn't have, it's the only, you can not know what you're doing and be in a band. You can not know what you're doing and you can do public speaking, but you need to know what you're doing if you're doing stage hypnosis. Because if you don't hypnotize at least a few people, you have no show. There is no show at all. So I started learning that stage hypnosis is real. And not only that, stage hypnotists are at the cutting edge of understanding hypnotic phenomena. That's a big deal. I'll tell you why. Because in almost every other domain, medicine, meditation, things like that, the scientists tend to be at the cutting edge of how it works. But the weird thing about hypnosis is it's the stage hypnotists, in my opinion, who are at the cutting edge of how hypnosis works and what it can do. So that's the stage of, the hypnotic bar experience is a bit of that as well.
Yeah, so I get this. So follow me. You just said it's not a parlor trick, but in a way, as stage, when we're on the stage, don't we like to mix in a few parlor tricks?
I think we liked the mystique because we know that when we get people to be fascinated and wonder, hypnotic phenomena becomes more powerful. You basically have what you might call a confusion induction just by confusing your audience a little bit. But I would still say, if somebody pressed me, I would still say that stage hypnosis is absolutely real and is not a parlor trick. And though it works really well in parlors to entertain people.
Interesting. Okay, so let's switch gears for a second here, Albert. So when was it that you had that aha moment that, hey, you know what, I'm really going to be able to help people?
I think it's funny, your question. I would say my answer to your question is being in hypnosis, and I think this applies to most honest hypnotists, is like a series of aha moments, one after the other, and they never stop. I've had, from my very beginning, when I discovered hypnosis' ability to de-traumatize you and help you with obsessive memories, I was like, aha. Then I discovered that hypnosis can make people drunk. I was like, whoa. Then I was like, eureka, hypnotic laughter. Then I was like, whoa, hypnotic orgasms. Then I was like, wow, the hypnotic death trance. It's been one amazing aha moment after another, and they keep coming. They don't stop. I think I'm just at the beginning. So that's what I want to say. I think, again, I've been in a lot of domains. I work in journalism, I work in film, I work in television, I work in radio. Hypnosis is the only domain that I know right now where there are genuine new frontiers. There are real new frontiers in hypnosis, and that's why it is exciting to be a hypnotist.
Cool. So you said you've done radio, you've done journalism, you've done movies. So have you had cross any books on hypnosis, any movies on hypnosis, any movies on healing or books on healing?
Well, the funny thing is that working on documentaries about hypnosis, I did research on why hypnosis has been misportrayed. And it's, again, this is like, hypnosis really is exceptional, because I don't think you would, I don't think chiropractors would say, oh, Hollywood misportrays, our art. But hypnotists, it is absolutely true. Hollywood, one movie after another, and even by really intelligent people. So let me explain. All the movies about hypnosis virtually lie. So the famous one, The Hypnotic Eye, showed, people being hypnotized to kill themselves. I really doubt that could ever work. By definition, the unconscious mind protects you. So the whole film is based on a false premise. This became a big deal in Hollywood in the 60s. Let's fast forward to movies that are more recent. There's a famous movie called Trance. It was so weird because I was on assignment as a reporter in London, England, and I met Rosario Dawson, and I'm trying to remember the director of Trance, famous guy, directed the Olympics in London. Anyways, they were at an event, and I met them, and I don't know how I ended up talking to them, and they said, Rosario Dawson was like, I'm working on this amazing movie about hypnosis called Trance. And at that time, I was just learning hypnosis. I was like, I cannot wait till this comes out. Trance is probably the biggest, most vicious attack on hypnosis of a movie that you'll ever see. It portrays things that are simply not possible, that you can make people forget things in trance for years. People can be made to commit murder, do horrible things. I mean, when you watch that movie, you get the feeling like, whoa, do not dabble in hypnosis, because there will just be horrible car crashes and people will burn to death and terrible things will happen. My experience of hypnosis is it is mainly just deep relaxation. That's what hypnosis is. But deep relaxation creates magic. It creates incredible change in people. So this sort of idea that hypnosis is this monstrous thing is very similar to the misportrayal of sharks. How Jaws led to a kind of like fear of sharks, and sharks, we know, it is much more likely you could be hit by lightning or be in a car accident or anything like that than be attacked by a shark. But you know, I know people who go swimming in freshwater lakes and they think they're going to be attacked by sharks, or they feel like they're going to be attacked by sharks. That's how effective Hollywood filmmaking is at making you scared of things. And they have succeeded in that way with hypnosis, where, you know, you probably experienced this. You meet people, you say, I do hypnosis. They say, ooh, either they say, are you going to turn me into a chicken? Yeah, or don't look me in the eyes. That's right. Don't look me in the eyes. And this is this fundamental misunderstanding that of hypnosis, that it happens covertly, you can control people, all these kind of lies, they come from Hollywood. Like the other one is Get Out. You know, remember the scene with the teacup? I noticed that some hypnotists who joke about they have teacups in their office to joke about it. You know, you put a spoon in a teacup and you gradually start to hypnotize people. Yeah, actually a spoon in a teacup is a little bit hypnotic, but it won't hypnotize you against your will. If you don't want to be hypnotized, you won't be. But that movie, Get Out, was another example of a Hollywood film that made, in the end, what happens? People dabble in hypnosis. And this is interesting. People have said this, is that this goes back to these age-old instincts, probably medieval instincts we have, where there are certain things that you should just not dabble in. Because if you dabble in those things, horror ensues. And so this is what probably priests and religious figures said to people: don't even dabble in these things. Horror will ensue. And that's what happens in Get Out. The guy, you know, first he's like, oh, I don't want to do hypnosis. And then he basically concedes, does something, and then it ends in like death, murder, mayhem. And so I know that's the language of Hollywood movies, but why is that story being told over and over again about hypnosis, when in fact, as I mentioned before, hypnosis is mostly like breathing and relaxation. There's not too much mass murder that I know of.
Well, speaking of all this stuff and all these things that you've done along the years, who are your mentors? Who's guided you and shaped you to who you are?
Very good question. There are some brilliant people in hypnosis, and who are still very much alive. So I was really influenced by my original teacher, Ariel Shirker, who's probably less well known, but she was like a great teacher, a natural hypnotist. And of course, Mike Mandel really influenced me. Brilliant hypnotist. I think reading, of course, I went right back to Anton Mesmer. And you know what was really funny about this? Take this with a grain of salt, but when I did the TEDx, part of the TEDx I did was like, Anton Mesmer was right, you know, because history kind of Anton Mesmer was exiled from Paris after introducing hypnosis to the modern world, dies in obscurity. So when I did a TEDx where I said, hey, Anton Mesmer was probably right, I'll demonstrate, here is some hypnosis, crazy things happen, and people are like, oh, Anton Mesmer was right. I got a phone call about 6 months later from somebody who said, Anton Mesmer wants to talk to you. And I was like, what? And Anton Mesmer died hundreds of years ago. It was a channel who basically said, for some reason, like, she had this powerful feeling, this woman who did not know anything about hypnosis, and said, I've just got this overwhelming feeling that somebody wants to talk to you, says his name is Anton Mesmer. And then she channeled, we went on a Zoom call and she channeled Anton Mesmer and said, thank you for doing that. I didn't know what to make of it. I was like, I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical about this kind of thing. But then after that, I was like, well, that was a weird experience.
Did you tell him you're welcome?
I said, you're welcome. Yeah, I did.
Nice. So let's see. You got mentors with hypnosis. What about through film? You got mentors with that?
Yeah, of course. You know, I actually weirdly was influenced a lot by Steven Spielberg. I worked for DreamWorks for a while, so I knew some of the people that worked with him. I didn't work with him directly. So yeah, I find that film and hypnosis actually go very well together. We're in the business of visual language. We get people to visualize. So do filmmakers. The only difference is that in hypnosis, we use film to relax people, or or film-like images to relax people. While in film, we often use them to agitate people or wake them up. It's a bit of a different game, but there's a lot of parallels. I think understanding filmmaking helps you understand hypnosis and vice versa. So yeah, I don't think they need to be separated. And so I've had a lot of good influence. I think filmmakers, you don't have to go far to be influenced by filmmakers. You don't have to read books. You can just watch movies. If you want to be influenced by filmmakers, watch their movies. That's how you do your research.
So you're a screenwriter and stuff like this. So can you see possibly in the future setting the record straight about hypnosis on the film media?
I interviewed a guy at HypnoThoughts about that exact thing. It blew my mind because you're going to see the interview in a documentary I did called "Make Orgasms Not War," and in it he really goes through the history, and it is shocking. I think we know that hypnosis has been misportrayed, but when you add it up, it's really kind of amazing. This kind of early, even the first books that were informational books about hypnosis used demonic imagery, kind of, in this way to suggest that you were kind of fooling with demons by doing hypnosis. And again, hypnosis is just relaxation. That's really mostly what it is. I think what people do is they underestimate how powerful relaxation is. And that's why meditation is so interesting to a lot of people, because it's also relaxation, yoga nidra and all these things. But hypnosis is not some of the things that people think it is. It's just that relaxation is more powerful than more people realize. That's why amazing things can happen when people are relaxed.
Beautiful. So Albert, what's in the future? What do you have planned down the road, 10 years down the road? Where are you going to be?
I hope to be able to explore and the new frontiers. I'm doing something called the Hypnotic Bar Experience. So let me explain this idea. There's an old trick, a very old trick that a lot of hypnotists know, and even calling it a trick would be wrong because it's actually real. You can hypnotize people to be drunk. You may know this is often done as quick demonstrations. I'll hypnotize somebody to feel like they've had 3 beers or 5 beers. Now, I happen to know that this is real. And so what I tend to do is I get interested in things. I was like, wait a second, if you can hypnotize somebody to feel like they've had 5 beers, could you actually replace the experience of alcohol in effect? And so I went through it. I actually worked at a rehab for a while, helping people. And I was struck by the idea, like I asked them, what does alcohol give you? When you drink, what do you get? 1, you get relaxed. Oh, sounds like hypnosis. 2, you can forget your troubles. Hey, sounds like hypnosis. 3, you get disinhibited. Oh, disinhibition sounds like hypnosis. I realized that hypnosis does all the things that alcohol does without the side effects. So I developed this idea called the Hypnotic Bar Experience, where people come to a bar, and I'll explain it very simply. So you can do a show, but you do it at a bar. You invite an audience. When the people arrive, you have a fake bartender, and you also have a real bartender. So if people want to drink, they can. The fake bartender is just serving shots of water. That's all they do. Then you find some great hypnotic subjects. You have them sit in the front of the stage. And I encourage other people to try this. And you hypnotize them essentially to feel that what they are drinking, which is water, are shots of rum, tequila, some kind of clear alcohol. And you will notice that first they start doing the same things that people who are people who are drinking tequila do. If you have a shot of tequila, you make that face, kind of like this, face, and then you feel that warm feeling in your stomach where the shot hits your stomach. And that's what happens to people who are hypnotized. They start to feel everything they would feel, and then they start to get drunk. In the Hypnotic Bar Experience, we demonstrate people can get fully drunk drinking water. People are amazed. Of course they think I'm lying, but I'm not. We know this is true. The catch is, yes, I need good hypnotic subjects. But even that's an interesting question, because you can sometimes turn people who are mediocre subjects into good subjects. But then once you've got them drunk, You can also create any altered state. So often in the Hypnotic Bar Experience, we ask people to invent a drug on the spot. What drug would you like to have exist? And they will invent that drug on the spot. I have learned that this also works in hypnotherapy. When somebody's really troubled and sad or stressed, I'll say, what if there was a drug that was kind of a treatment for what you have? What would it be like? What would it do? And what the person does is they kind of imagine a solution to their problem. And so that's kind of an amazing thing to me, that they visualize a solution. And so I've learned by accident through the Hypnotic Bar Experience that imagining drugs that help you is actually an interesting hypnotherapeutic principle. So that's why I say stage hypnosis can often help your hypnotherapeutic work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, a ton of sense. So yeah, wonderful. So let me ask this, Albert. How do our viewers get a hold of you?
Oh, you can look up anything. My website is hypnologist.net. You can look up the Hypnotic Bar or Hypnotic Bar Experience. If you want to see the TEDXs, the ones that people know is Hypnosis Fake, and the other one is called Surprise, You're Hypnotized. And those, you can also look up my YouTube channel, which is just my name. Nobody can ever spell my name right, which is okay. Sometimes that's Albert Nerenberg, Nerenberg. But yeah, look me up, and yeah, I hope to be at HypnoThoughts. I'm at the performing. I forgot to mention. So coming up, I'm at the Performing Hypnosis Summit, where I'm doing a talk called The Idiot Effect. So the Idiot Effect is when I do stage hypnosis, sometimes I get sad. This sounds weird, but I get sad. Like you make someone forget their name. You make it so that somebody can barely walk, or they're stuck to a chair. That is funny. Or you turn somebody into a chicken. That is funny. It really is funny. But sometimes I started to feel like I'm kind of making people look like idiots. I'm kind of making people look like fools. Now, I'm not saying all of that is necessarily that way. And also, I like to be a fool. I like it when people make fun of me. I actually enjoy it. But I thought, is there a way that we could do stage hypnosis in a kind of more elevated way, where we'd elevate people? So I'm doing a talk where I've found examples of how stage hypnotists elevate their audience. So often, even though we'll joke around, make people look kind of foolish at times, we end it by giving people really positive, powerful suggestions that are good for them. And a lot of stage hypnotists have started doing that. This is a really good trend. The second thing is that there are shows where it's not just making people look foolish. So there's a show called Hyprov, where they hypnotize people to be improv actors. That is really interesting, because I've gone to that show. It's not just that you can hypnotize people to be actors. You can hypnotize people to be good actors. They are good. I teach improv, or I taught improv before I did hypnosis. It's not that easy to become an improv actor. I recommend it, but it's not easy. But if you use hypnosis, you can take a random person. That was my experience. I saw Hyprov, and there was a woman performing who was so good. I like, this woman is a star actress. After the show, they all hung around, and I went up to the woman who was like the star actress of the show, and I said, you must have acting experience to be so good. She played like a detective. She played a femme fatale. She had all these crazy roles. And I said, and she said, no, I'm a farmer. I work on an organic farm. And I thought that's typical. And this is a really, really interesting, and here's another unexplored new frontier I plan to explore. There's a relationship, and a lot of hypnotists have observed this, between acting and hypnosis. Almost as a rule, most good actors are also good hypnotic subjects. Why? Because they're disinhibited. They know how to turn off their inhibition. They know how to put themselves in other roles, which is what happens when somebody becomes a chicken. They're putting themselves in another role fully, 100%. Somebody who's not able to become a chicken is probably not as good an actor. So this has not been explored. But Hyprov proves that hypnosis turns people into actors. And there's even like a weirder side. One more weird side of this is anybody who does stage hypnosis is often accused of using actors, right? Because people look a bit theatrical. Well, they're not being theatrical. They're just being hypnotized. And it shows that people have this sort of natural dramatic flair when they lose inhibition. They're not faking. They're kind of acting, so to speak.
Well, since all the world's a stage, then are people actors? I mean, don't you hypnotize people all day to act?
Yes, all the world is a stage. I did a whole documentary about this called You Are What You Act. And I fully believe in this theory. All the world is a stage. We're acting all the time anyways. All of us are. So why not be good at it? You know, why not be good at it? And I fully believe that. So I just think acting is like a whole other angle we can explore in hypnosis. I mean, if actors, for example, I've had a few clients come to me and say they want to be a little bit better at acting. I could take it a step further. If you want to become an actor, go see a hypnotist and go into trance, because that will improve your acting. So to finally answer your question about what things are coming up, I'm doing the Idiot Effect at Performing Hypnosis. I'm touring the show, the Hypnotic Bar Experience, around Canada. I do it other places, but right now in November, I'm doing it in December, I'm doing Toronto, Kingston, Canada. And I have a documentary coming out in next year called Make Orgasms Not War, which is about this whole other side of hypnosis, that it is a channel to understanding sexual programming. And this was a film I actually didn't want to make simply because I'm not an expert on sexuality, but I realized the story is too big and too crazy to ignore. There's something too interesting here. And the sort of filmmaker part of me really got interested in this story. So that Make Orgasms Not War is coming out later this year.
Boy, we got a lot to look forward to coming from you, Albert. It's going to sound like a lot of fun here in
I hope so.
In the near
I hope so.
Yeah. So it's been wonderful. So I do have another great question for you. What are your words of wisdom for our guest, for our viewers?
That's a good question. I would say, I mean, in any area, any particular area I should focus on?
It's your wisdom there, Albert. Bring it.
I think we all face a lot of the same problems. We all live in the past. We sometimes all fear the future, which is anxiety. And the thing I've really learned lately is the power of the present. Like this has been a really fun podcast because we've really been both present in it, I think. And I don't know why, but we have. And I think that is one of the secrets to happiness, being present in the moment. Because you know why? You realize the moment is actually pretty great. The present is a great place. That's my words of wisdom. Please visit the present because it's a great place. Wish you were here.
Wonderful. Anything else you want to add?
No, but this has really been a lot of fun. Thank you.
It's been a great time. I've certainly enjoyed having you on the podcast. We've certainly enjoyed traveling down your magical psyche highway, Albert. Thanks for coming and thanks for being here. And for our viewers, thank you for being here. We're glad you're here. If you like this, give us a thumbs up. If you think we're assholes, just give us a thumbs down. We don't care. We're just glad you're here. Come back next week. Share it with your friends. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for coming.
Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.